What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast from RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with another great installment of the Bullpen, a joint venture between the Grappling Hour and Inside BJJ. How are we today? Are we good? I already see a very nice gesture in the chat. We will acknowledge that shortly, just like we acknowledge every single one of you guys that give us love on this show. We don't acknowledge the trolls. And if we do, we talk about them in ways that usually goes, because, like, not very smart. Let's be honest. The trolls and the caliber of what they are, not what they used to be. Getting a little more AI. It's a little lazy. But in this day and age, here is somebody who is not produced by AI. This is Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing?
Not yet produced by AI. I am working on it, but I just keep ending up with a glitched out Max Hedron. So not super great. But it's great to be back, Raf. Great to see you banging on a Thursday. I like that. I like the way it sounds. And I got to be honest, I like the way it feels.
I'm glad to hear that because you're doing me the solid here today. I tomorrow have to go coach my students. Now, Tim, when is an unideal time to go coach students for you? Like, if you were to pick any time, AM, PM, be it, what would be the first and the second worst times to get during the day?
Friday evening for certain. That's terrible. Anything Friday night is terrible. Anything on Friday is kind of crappy, in my opinion, but you know, Fight to Win does what they do. Saturday, Sunday, okay. All right. I'm buying it. Any other time during the week, but I would say Friday for sure is the worst day to have to do it. I don't mind Sunday too much. Sunday night's terrible though. Sunday night that's a savage atheist move right there, man.
So the times I got sent, I have 3 students. This is a random Friday at Long Beach Convention Center sort of setup. 4 p.m. for 2 of them and 6 p.m. for the other one.
In Long Beach?
Yeah.
Like, is there no traffic at this time? Because I imagine that's kind of the worst time for traffic.
Well, I did tell Kelly a little bit earlier this week. I said, well, I have a general idea they're going at 4 or 5. That's usually the time they put them on a Saturday or Sunday. I don't know if I'll see you. Because she's like, oh, are you home Friday night? I go, no. She goes, well, I thought you were coaching earlier in the day. I go, who knows? I probably won't be home. And if I could leave at, like, let's say they lose twice in a row, it's 6:15. I'm not getting home till 8 p.m. So Who knows? But while we had a second, there's been a lot of stuff going on. We're going to start, obviously, with the Netflix MVP stuff. I wanted to ask you, Tim. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world outside of just the jiu-jitsu and MMA sphere. Did you have anything that you wished you could have put on the board that has nothing to do with MMA and BJJ?
Anything that I wished I could put on the board? Off the top of my head, man, like, I'd like to pay homage to my mother-in-law's Mexican food. I definitely would have put that on the board this week because, brother, okay, the day before I left for Spain, I was 192 pounds on the scale in the morning.
Mm.
Yesterday I weighed, I am 205.
Oof.
That's Spain and my mother-in-law. And I kind of don't care. She's leaving on Saturday, and I'm just like, look, man, I'm giving myself permission. I'm letting go. I'm letting go, and I'm letting God, brother.
Let me give you a quick topic to talk about because I don't know that you saw it. I am based in reality TV and game shows. That's a lot of what I do for big hit work. I don't know that you saw this, but there was a huge fuck up from a pro. This is a multi-time Emmy winner, and Jeff Probst, who yesterday, while doing a segment for Survivor, you know, there are clips that they show you of things that happen as they have a reunion show. So they say, hey, let's take a look back at that. Jeff Probst messed up and said, well, this dude's over here now because he certainly didn't make it to the next thing, but they didn't show that segment yet. So on the live broadcast, he had a faux pas and didn't know what it meant. Put the dude over to the side and goes, what just happened? What did we do? And it wasn't until they got to the commercial that they said, hey, by the way, yes. Even the audience goes, we haven't seen that yet. And he goes, you haven't seen that yet, huh? Have you ever, as a host, had a Jeff Probst moment like that?
No, not where I gave the reveal before the footage was actually seen. I haven't done that, but I have spoken without a microphone, and that was a faux pas in and of itself. Never gave the juice away up front, though.
I feel like that is an epic moment. And what I really feel we need to have a moment as hosts is to absolve us of any self-consciousness we've ever felt, because they have production and lots of people there to help you. And somehow that happened. And Tim, it happened on the 50th season anniversary. So for them, this is like a big show and they had a mess up.
Was it live?
So the portion he was doing was live, but they throw to things that happened in the past so that they escalate and get to the final vote.
Is someone going to get fired for that? Like a segment producer or somebody going to get in trouble?
Unfortunately, no, because it would have to be Jeff Probst. Because Jeff, when he talked to the audience and he goes out there and he goes, so let's just figure out what happened there. And they yell it out. He goes, I did do that. Ah, shit. And like, that wasn't supposed to happen. So a very funny moment. But I just thought, as somebody who very kindly, thank you, Nico, next up, who said, Raf, you're the man. You've announced my matches for Subversive. Next week, I have a live microphone producing a show. This weekend, I'm over at Sparstar MMA. So I feel good going into this next 2 weeks. And 3 weeks, if you consider RFL the week after that. The back-to-back-to-back. And seeing Jeff Probst, multi-time Emmy winner and pro, making a mistake. And I'm thinking to myself, things are looking pretty good for your boy, RAF ESPARZA. So feeling very good about myself.
Yeah, you're doing just fine.
All right. Let's start off on the board. Time on the clock right now. All right, guys. You saw it. We saw it. MVP MMA made a huge debut over the weekend and attracted more than 17 million viewers. Now, Tim, I do have to start by saying one thing. I predicted they would do well. I was wrong. I said that they would do north of 10 and that would be a success. I didn't even call 17 million. Now, granted, 17 million was the global total. The overall average was about 9.2 million here in the United States, which clears the previous holder, which I believe was Strikeforce or Elite XC. I think that's the one that held it with Kimbo, that fight. So from this, and in your interpretation, Tim, why are people having such strong reactions to the ratings and to the event?
Well, that's why I titled, and I didn't know exactly what you were getting at, but I think I was right. That's why I titled the slide Numbers versus Feels. A lot of people are in their feels about it. And I think the reason they're in their feels is the card really didn't deliver. Like it had all the sideshow attraction, train wreck potential that gets everybody juiced up on a Saturday night. Lots of folks have Netflix, so it's actually kind of like a cool Easter egg for people that aren't into fighting. They hear about it. They're like, I got Netflix. We could watch it. The fights just didn't deliver. And so I think that's why some of the more serious fans are kind of poo-pooing it. Obviously, the UFC heads are not big on it. Overall, I don't think the card proved anything, but I'm not surprised that many people watched it. Like Jake Paul knows how to promote. He knows how to get eyeballs on the product. The challenge that he's going to have, and that I think he's having with MMA, is it's much harder to gauge the predictability of MMA fights unless they're totally lopsided than it is in, say, a boxing match where one guy can carry the other guy. That it's hard to carry somebody in MMA without it looking totally fake. So, I mean, that was kind of, I watched the whole thing, but that's kind of how I came away from it. I would like to see him do another event. I just think they need more competitive dudes on the card, but everybody got paid, so that's good.
Okay, I hear where you're at. Tim's not quite a dude bro in his feels. He's more looking for a good card or an even bigger circus. So it was neither one of those two things for you.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Like, look, Nate Diaz should have thrown a water bottle at somebody or a chancla or something, man.
Okay. Time on the clock for counterpoint. That shit was great, and here's why. I totally get where Tim is coming from. I hear it, I see it, I feel it. Were these great fights? Meh. However, were they bad fights? No, they were not. Some people in their coping, because they couldn't deal with this getting huge ratings, were trying to find reasons. Literally everything for MVP MMA was, oh yeah, but, oh yeah, but, oh yeah, but. Let's take a few of those off the top. So first and foremost, let's talk about the fight themselves. Ronda Rousey getting a finish in 17 seconds. Surprising? Not really. In what world would you be surprised by this? Maybe you're mad that it went so short and that it was so hyped. But you know what I like as a TV guy? 1, finishes. 2, finishes that keep your peak viewers. That was the best case scenario because that's when the most people were tuning in and you got what you were supposed to see. Or at least if you have any idea what Ronda Rousey does. Would it have been nice for Gina Carano to throw a strike or to even do anything? Yeah, that would be nice. But having said that, the win for her was losing the weight. That's it. That was the story. That was what everybody was okay with. Now, a thing that people may not feel great about is the fact that Gina and Ronda were holding hands like sisters at the very end of it, looking at each other like we pulled off the greatest heist in the world. And I feel like some people thought that was a bad look. Why? They weren't beefing at all during the whole thing. And you guys have fallen for worse. 2 weeks ago, you had Sean Strickland and Khamzat Jamov yelling at each other, saying disparageable things about their families and other people, and then all in the whole world of sportsmanship, who can forget who said what racist thing? You guys are just the same with this. I will propose a theory. I feel that Ronda Rousey has the right buttons to push, and that she knows there are a bunch of weak dudes who cannot stand her being strong. That does not mean she is right all the time. She says dozens of things that you go, that's not great. And yet, you do this 2 seconds after anything. You show up with numbers that exceed the UFC. And there are some of you who are saying the following, which is, oh, they only beat Paramount in the UFC because they have a bigger reach. No shit, Sherlock. And the UFC could have had that deal too, but the UFC walked away from it. You know why? Because Netflix was willing to pay a shit ton of money for just the numbered pay-per-views. Netflix said, don't give me your shit cards. Don't give me your shit, I don't care, in $10 fight night cards. I don't want that. Give me your pristine stuff. And the UFC was like, how about if I throw in 3 fight night cards? And they're like, still no. We've seen the batting average. Give us your best, not your most garbage. So they could have had it. and they chose not to. So as a result now, yeah, Paramount is at a disadvantage. And I have made estimations here. I have said that the UFC will not clear 7 to 8 million. It's going to be tough. They're going to air it on CBS and they're going to put their whole firepower behind it. But 17 million is approaching football numbers. And UFC has never come close to that, even with the launch of it on Fox. So if I'm looking at options here, I'm telling you the following. They did a great job launching it. It was pretty seamless. They didn't take any more time than the UFC did. Stream worked. The fights had finishes, 5 for 5. And even if you thought they were lopsided, they still produced a finish. That actually has a premium to then sell the next thing. Oh, it's only one and done. Who cares? It already raised the ability for people to get paid more. And if this doesn't make you sit up at night as you are typing your angry texts and tweets and whatever carrier pigeon you have, your GOAT, John Jones, said that night, how do I get out of my contract? That's their guy. I get that they have weird issues and that, yes, maybe he is difficult to deal with. But if your main guy is saying that, he is leveraging the fuck out of the momentum that has. And it just goes to show this week, they were announcing that, yes, they are looking to do this now monthly. That might be a little bit too much of a cadence. But watch how things change. If the minimum pay is $40,000 just to show versus the UFC, which might struggle like they did this past Saturday to put on an event that honestly, even the UFC was like, yeah, we give up this week. We're not even trying. So some counterpoint thoughts. Tim, your thoughts?
No, I think you're right. My Pirate Stream DVR was like, I'm not even going to store that UFC fight night on the disc, dude. I'm serious. I couldn't even go back and watch it. I was like, well, I guess I haven't missed anything. Yeah, I think you're right. Netflix has a certain new cool factor that is a lot cooler than Paramount. Who has a Paramount? I don't have a Paramount subscription. The only time I get a Paramount subscription, it would probably be to watch the UFC, to be 100% honest. And putting it on CBS, I don't know how you felt growing up. I know that you and I both watched a lot of television growing up. And CBS to me was always third, fourth choice station to watch. You got to go NBC, ABC, maybe Fox, but not CBS. CBS they don't have the good soap operas. They don't have the good morning shows. They got none of the good stuff. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I just don't know if MVP MMA can pull this off repeatedly. Like, is there enough action? And I do agree with you. Ronda and Gina did not get paid all that money for their fight Saturday night. They got paid for what they did 10, 15 years ago when they really weren't getting paid super well. They got paid now. So good on them. Like, I think it's dope that MVP paid the guy that Nagano beat up for 3 minutes made like 40 G's, 50 G's. So I'll take that. Like, I could use that right now. I think I could beat Nagano.
Make a couple little additional notes here. So one thing to note with Jake Paul, he didn't just pick anybody. He picked somebody who worked with the UFC before. So that means they know part of their structure and their secrets. So if you know somebody who knows the money behind the UFC and how to spread that out, you're starting at a pretty good thing, especially when he worked there. That was the UFC at a pretty good time in their life. So now that they're starting off, they're not starting at zero. And I think they've probably crunched the numbers to figure out $40K is probably about the same athlete spend for your average guys if you're not doing them every single week. so that you can replenish the bank account. And I see this here from John Dong that says, do you know Jalitan Alameda? I don't. Apologies. He used to be in the UFC, but they cut him. I wish MVP was able to sign him to fight Ngannou. That would have been sick. So here's something to note for you. That's a possibility. And because, I don't know if you noticed this, everybody they went to Ngannou with and said, you want to fight him? How about him? Every one of those people, from Jake Paul to John Jones, were like, I would, but I'm a little busy right now, so I'm not quite sure if I'm free those days. Poor Ngannou at the end, they're like, Ariel's looking at him and goes, so Ngannou, what do you have next? What would you like to see happen next? Oh, I don't know. It's very strange. I love all people. I would fight you? No? Okay. I would fight you? No. Oh, okay. Well, I just love everybody, but I punch anybody in front of me, they die. They get 500K, but they die. It's good. So that's part one. I also want to bring this up, Tim, because I didn't want to gloss over this. I'm a little surprised by two things. Obviously, I knew Nate Diaz was going to be in a certain place. I saw how he's doing the warm-ups to the fight. And I was hoping my brain was wrong, but my brain was not. My heart felt it. That fight was not easy to watch. But the part that was surprising is the fight ends and Mike Perry comedically turned into a different person. Like, Mike Perry gave the best post-fight speech I've ever seen him do. And I couldn't tell if he was being remote controlled, if he got hit by an anvil and this is his new personality. I don't know what happened, but that dude, when he was looking at Nate Diaz and he was getting egged on to do a rematch, just goes, yeah, sure, we can go get paid if you would like to. I am happy to beat you soundly within these cage walls one more time. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, I have the impression that Mike Perry got CTE so bad, it bumped him off the end of the CTE scale, and he came back around to the coherent brain scale. And he's like a new man. I don't understand it, dude. And the last time I checked, he was like not even training with the team. He was just training with this girl and like cashing checks. He has done the best, I would have to say, post UFC in terms of competition wise out of any fighters that I can think of. He's done really well on bare knuckle. He's made a lot of money in these big event fights, and he's not bad. So yeah, a lot of respect there. It was tough watching Nate. Look, Nate's 41 years old, and it's not 31 and it's not 21. So the technique that he's inventing, I don't know if you caught this, was I'm going to lean on the cage and then throw a kick. He just lean on the cage and throw a kick. So, like, I don't know if that's like takedown defense or just he can't stretch all the way that far to throw the kick.
He utilized what I thought was the little brother defense. Like, no, stop it.
Yeah, a lot of that turning. He did hit a nice throw. Just couldn't capitalize on it.
So you are right on that. The other thing I wanted to bring up that was surprising, but I didn't know it was going to be surprising. In the post-fight speech or the post-presser, Nate was starting to smoke, as one does, no big deal. And they were asking him a question. They're just like, hey, when are you thinking you're going to hang it up? And will we ever know? Like, when will you know it's time? And as he's sparking up and lighting up, he just goes, you'll never even know. And it was the coolest Nor moment I've ever seen. Because it felt like if it was in black and white, it would have fit in perfectly. Like, it's a cut scene from Casablanca. And then all I was thinking about for a week was, hey, just look at you, bitch. Yeah, play it again, Sam. Because I didn't hear it the first time, dog. What? Put some bass in that shit. So it just got me thinking. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying, he seems to have developed a sense of humor as well lately.
I think he is relaxed. Maybe it's being a father now. I think he's always been funny, but the attitude was always on edge. I think now is just like he knew exactly what this was. It was a paycheck. He was going to go out there and fight and see if he wanted to do it. Wasn't working great. Still basically fulfilled his obligations. And Stitch was the one to call it. So it kind of worked in a good way because that dude had a bloody koi pond back here, bleeding here,
Yeah, he did it.
crimson mask here. Even I think at one point his stomach was bleeding. Everything was bleeding. So I had a lot of respect for Nate going through doing that. It was hard to watch, but I was happy he was able to get paid. And I feel like that's going to open up some additional opportunities going forward. So any last thoughts here on MVP before we move on here, Tim?
Nah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Good stuff. I want to see number 2. Let's go.
All right, moving on. On the board right now, we're going to go to UFC BJJ. That is happening tonight. UFC BJJ 8 is happening. And listen, I am excited about it, but I do have a few thoughts. The first of which being Mikey's weigh-ins, where he put his glasses on upside down, then sat down, looked up at his opponent with his championship in hand, got up, immediately went to smiling and laughing. I don't know that anybody else was smiling and or laughing, but it happened. And then we also have the Ethan Krellinston issue where he used the Polaris stage as a call out to get himself booked on UFC BJJ, which is not affiliated with Polaris. So, Tim, give us some updates here, and then I'll give you some additional thoughts on the two things.
Yeah, so Krellenstein did do that. I get why he did it. I don't think it's a great move as an athlete to basically cut a diss track on the company that's paying you while they're paying you while you're on their clock. That was rough to watch, and it speaks to the UFC's intention and kind of attitude about jiu-jitsu in general, that they took that bait and bit it right into it thirsty and pulled them in. So we're going to see Ethan tonight go up against Danilo Moreira. We also last minute, I guess, change up here. We were going to see Andy Varela versus Jet Thompson rematch of PGF Season 6 grand finale, but it looks like Derek Rayfield has stepped in to go up against Thompson. I think we've seen that match before. We have a pretty good idea, although the rule set is slightly different. The one I'm really looking forward to seeing is the battle of who could be the nicest guy, Landon Elmore versus Keith Krikorian. Both guys I like a lot. They both have great jiu-jitsu, so I'm looking forward to that. Overall, William Tackett's on the card. Mikey's not fighting anybody. Look, Mikey's not fighting the kinds of people that the jiu-jitsu crowd would like to see him fight. It's no knock on Kevin Dantzler, not at all. Like, if I was in his position, I would take the fight too. Great skills, but it just feels like literally the UFC just shakes a magic 8-ball and they're like, who's Mikey's next opponent? Oh, it's this guy. He doesn't exist. Find someone with that name. And they just put him out there. So that, and the antics are getting old. It's like a kid that needs a lot of attention all the time. That's kind of the vibe he gives off. I don't know if that's the vibe he's trying to give off, but that's kind of the vibe with the sit down and the glasses on upside down. Like, okay, we get it. Just fight somebody that's like everybody wants to see. So that's where I'm at.
You know what
I'm still
feels
salty.
like? It feels like, how there's good Robin Williams movies and bad Robin Williams movies?
Yeah.
It feels like a bad Robin Williams movie. Like,
yeah, I got you.
When you just kind of roll your eyes and you go, he's 10? That's the bit? And it's an hour 30 of that? And it's directed by the Godfather Oh, no. I don't want to watch that. No.
Yeah, right.
And then you think, like, Robin Williams, he's so talented. He's in all these great movies. Every once in a while, there's going to be a bad one. What's this one called? Bicentennial Man? What's his bit here? He's a robot who wants to be a human?
He has a heart.
God, I hope I don't have to support this. I'll wait for it on video. No, it was a bad choice to watch it on video too. Like, that's what it feels like with Mikey. Yeah. So, listen, we don't dispute his talent. It's just we see this, we go, can you just do a weigh-in? Like, be a normal weigh-in. Do that. I don't know that this is getting you more attention other than, let's put it this way. You know what? Camera on me. Okay. I realize what I am about to say may not quite work, so allow me to just express the thought. It sounds strange, but you know how years ago we saw the emergence of cringe UFC champions? It didn't take very long for us to be at cringe UFC BJJ champions. This is not to address their talent. They're very good at what they do. But in order to get us interested, they are following the progression of your Henry Cejudos. They are doing those extra little things that get you hooked in social media. And maybe it's performance bonuses. Maybe it's just to give incentives that more people who watch this, we will reward you handsomely. I just can't help but think most of these come out with the resounding thud. Let's talk about Ethan. Ethan got what he wanted. So for him, there is no bad side of this. It was, hey, it worked. And it did. Now, people may not have short memories on it. There may be other organizations that aren't the UFC that don't really vibe with that. But it doesn't really speak well for Claudia to see that happening on Polaris and go, ooh, I'm going to sign that. Because that's allegedly what happened. So the story now goes that Ethan did it the next day after the Polaris event. He got a call from the UFC, meaning Claudia and that company. Which, you know, for fun and games, did work for him. But it does affirm that we're right, that the UFC isn't building the talent. Other organizations are building the talent, and they're just going, yoink. If anything, that story works as a cool aside, but it's only a reminder that everything we probably are assuming about UFC BJJ is actually true. So if they were building their own talent, they would have known that already. They would have signed him just from the talent that he's had, or maybe the history of Ethan's incredible performances in other organizations. So, oops. Anyway, I'd love to be more excited about the antics of this. They're just not that exciting, and they're not that funny. So, yeah, we're at a world where a lot of this is cringe, and we just kind of have to go, I'm just going to ignore that. I'm just trying to tune in tonight to see who wins. God bless, boys. Hopefully this works for y'all. I did see this note that says, I wish they do UFC BJJ on Saturdays, like this Saturday, where there aren't any UFC MMA fights. I wonder why they don't do that. Well, they do about 12 events per year, and they do 44, somewhere 43, 44 UFC-themed events in a 52-week sort of deal here, or a 48-week.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I would say that's not going to work. I would just tell you that right now. There's no way they would divert their attention to two separate things, even though they are two separate teams. They're not going to waste that bandwidth. They're not going to be like, hey, go enjoy this tournament and then have time to ignore your family for another 12 hours of your day. So I don't mind it on Thursdays. Right. It's not bad. It does take some getting used to. That works. But think about other sports. Do you tell the NBA, Tuesday's a little inconvenient for me. I'm really sorry. Right, other sports have other days. We've just been spoiled to always have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and really Saturday if it's a premier event. But newsflash, we are not a premier event to the UFC. So that should answer that for y'all. Anyway, good luck to everybody competing on UFC BJJ. We will have results on that next week. But for now, Tim, let's move ahead very shortly as we are going to speed through some of these topics. You got to talk to me about this because I did see it. I did send it your way, but apparently there was a little bit of a scuffle, a little bit of a misunderstanding, a little bit of an angry angry interaction that happened at, of all places, a grappling industry.
Yeah, Grappling Industries disqualifies a competitor for doing the classic high school wrestling push off during a reset. So, in the wrestling world, it's super common that if there's a reset from a position, the top player doesn't put their hands on the mat to get up. They literally put their hands on the bottom player and they push off. Not necessarily like a pushing them, but you're pushing your body up. Sometimes that means they'll put their hands on the back of your head and just push up. It's just part of the game. It's what they do. It's just not considered foul. It's just part of it. And Nicole Campa was grappling at a no-gi tournament out at Grappling Industries, and she basically did the same thing. Now, the thing to know about Nicole is that she's a student of one Andy Varela, who is well known in the jiu-jitsu community for being rough, let's say, in his grappling. Now, in my opinion, Varela has a more classic wrestling style pace and aggression, and it's not always welcome in jiu-jitsu. But it makes sense that a student of Andy's, this girl, Nicole, probably has a wrestling background, pulled this off. So anyway, they DQ'd her for it. It's basically like unsportsmanlike, I guess. Andy Varela goes straight to Instagram, posts it. Wow, what do you guys think? Jiu-jitsu is too soft, crazy disqualification. Now, Nicole took it one step further. She went to Instagram and said to the ref, that ref, my no-gi match today at Grappling Industries, you're a POS. She did misspell your for the context it's used in. But yeah, man, she's pretty upset. Listen, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know if they gave her warnings. I at least give a warning. Like, hey, if you do that again, I'm going to DQ you. So that way they have some clarity on the situation. But if it's just a straight DQ, that's bananas.
I think you're correct. And I'll even go one further, Tim, because this is not an isolated incident. There was also something that happened, I think, that occurred with Derek from the PGF recently. From Derek Atkins, I want to say. And there was this weird moment where they're kind of pushing and jostling, and it seems all within the scope of competing. And then it looked like he was told to stop. He tried stopping. And then something looked where I think maybe his opponent was pushing him into the railing, or it looked very suspicious where you couldn't tell if Derek was stopping or his opponent was throwing him into the guardrail. In actuality, there's just a lot of momentum, so it is hard to tell. But I lean a little bit more on the side of, yeah, it did almost look like his opponent was like throwing him off as like a urgency sort of thing. And I see this, and then I see what happened with Varela's student, and you just think to yourself, man, it's not even safe to go out there and compete. Like, we're now looking at people who are just like, how much should I pay for this? $99? I'm going to throw some money in the railing today. This is feeling real nice. Like, I don't know what it is. And it's almost where you think the referee is responsible, but there's only so much they can do. Like, a referee can tell you, hey, don't run outside, and you still might run outside. It's just trying to make the best of the situation. So I'm curious if we have a solution or a thought in the near future. This is something I think we have to sit on because, I had made a joke that only one person had hit a WWE BJJ move and on me, and somebody sent me a note in my DMs who competed against me, who reminded me, no, it's two. And he was trying to take credit. He was trying to take responsibility for one time Hondaing me into a table. Now, as a pro wrestling fan, I would have loved going through a table. Like, epically.
Yeah, it's an honor.
Chaotically. Didn't love that there was no padding there. That's fine. But literally, it was like the storm in California that moves the table. And then you just look at it and you go, that's it? And that dude was reminding me, he's like, hey, Raf, just so you remember, I did that to you. And I was like, that's really funny. So thank you. And I told him, I was like, you need to come train with me because I'll show you what going through a table looks like. But shout out to him because I love the fact that for him, they asked me, they're like, did you want to continue going? And I was like, absolutely. But I was so dead set on being like, I have to keep this in the middle of the action in the center of the ring. The hard part is it's control, and it was something that I was doing it. So I think part of it is the responsibility of the athlete. Like, the athletes have to agree to that. And Brian is so in his feels about it, he can't even let somebody take his one claim to fame. He's like, I did that to RAF. And I've said, that's him. Yeah, he's the one that got it. I get it on other people all the time. He got it on me. And I was like, damn, that's impressive. And now Brian's like, hold on. That doesn't even count. So Brian's making sure the technicality does not stand. So yes, you are still intact there. But we will update you guys more on that one. Why don't we move to this? There's been a huge sense of a return here. Somehow Palpatine returned, but somehow even weirder, Scott Coker returned. Tim, how did he find his way inevitably back into this script without any form of warning or intrigue, I guess?
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of Paul Bearer just a little bit. Just got the look, you know. Yeah, he pioneer though, one way or the other. Scott Coker, formerly of Strike Force, then for a while with Bellator, gets investment backing. I'm going to find the group name here. It's about $60 million, which doesn't sound like a ton of money to me, honestly, but he is back to lead a new MMA league venture. He's got Creator Sports Capital behind them, Griffin Gaming Partners, Upper Deck Baseball Company. Tony Hawk's name has been thrown into the mix. Several ownership groups that have stakes in the NFL, NBA are kind of getting behind this. Really, you know, the UFC success has opened a lot of eyes of other people with lots of money who are like, I wonder if we can reproduce a slightly lesser or just profitable version of this. So Coker's looking back to get into the game. It's going to be a league. So I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. They don't have a name for it yet, and they're targeting 2027. Look, I personally think it's great for there to be competition in the MMA game. I don't fault the UFC 100% because they have really pushed the sport in a major way, put it on a huge stage. And not everybody, that's for sure, but some guys have made a really great career out of it. Having said that, it's just better when there is competition in that particular market. Fighting, I feel like, is a lot harder to corner than, say, Major League Baseball, football, teams that require, 50 people on it. That's a lot harder to, stand up a sports league where you're going to have to literally have 30 people on every team. A lot easier to find fighters, and I think the market's quite large enough for it. And I think the public is wants it. Obviously, the MVP Netflix numbers shows us that people do want to watch these fights. It's just, can the story be compelling? Can it be presented the right way? Coker's good at what he does. I really enjoyed Strikeforce. I thought Strikeforce was a really great promotion. Bellator to an extent, but Strikeforce really had a soul to it that I think Bellator lacked.
I really love the fact that Corker was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Did you guys say 17 million people showed up and you want to get in Dana White's ass? Hello. How's it going? Yeah, I was just in the neighborhood. You guys want to do a lunch? I love the fact that we are getting more competition. It in your brain, you hope for the best. Here is my only reservation to this whole process. I have seen Strikeforce. I have seen PFL. I have seen Bellator. I have seen Elite XC. I have seen dozens of different organizations come together. Holy shit. Fightmaster. That was a thing. It was essentially a more different Ultimate Fighter. I'm very excited about the fact that UFC has a real challenge here. but we have seen other things spit off into the distance very quickly. So what I would really caution here is just trying to make good fights. Tim, I'm going to present one thing to you that I think is important for us to talk about before we transition to the next topic.
Yeah.
Do you know the one thing that will fix all problems people might have had with MVP MMA 1?
No, but I'm very curious, Raf.
Good fights. That's it. You get us the right
Yeah,
fights, all these
that's
dorks are going to forget whatever it was they had hangups on. And even more so now that it is free with their subscriptions. Whereas before you would have to buy a pay-per-view. Now
Right.
it is home entertainment. That is a huge business for people. So what I'm
Yeah.
reminding people here is this. Yes, you can have your gripes, but you guys will run to the hills if they announce a really good fight. And that is at the core of what we are looking at here. So Scott Coker has put on good fights. It has been a complicated legacy in terms of execution and maybe overspending and maybe not always hitting the marks, but he does have the experience. So that I think could be a helpful weapon in this. Again, with Jake Paul and their group with MVP, they have a good edge now. So now they have some bragging rights. The real key is going to be everybody getting their bragging rights. And lots of people can win, but it's my hope that it doesn't sputter out quickly and that people have learned some lessons from the last times we have seen other major organizations throw cash out recklessly. I think it is time to really invest in your fighters because at your core, if you have fighters that people talk about, there is stuff that you can do. And really, this was an untapped market that ONE FC kept ignoring and opened the door for these guys to have room here in the United States. And maybe that's by design, but I really do feel if ONE FC had made even a little bit more than just coming to Denver once and put in some infrastructure there, maybe we wouldn't see the emergence of two new MMA organizations just yet.
Yeah. I'm blaming Tom DeBlas. So when they brought him in to be the jiu-jitsu operations guy at all, ONE FC went downhill. Yeah, I don't know. They did one show in Denver. It was awesome. And then they're like, yeah, we did America.
That's it. They were like, and Denver, a whole U.S. tour starting and ending in Denver.
Wow.
So let's see. I'm glad there's new competition for the UFC. UFC has been declining in quality for a while. Your lips, God's ears, my friend. Let's move on to the next topic, which is this is a debut. Yeah, this will be interesting. A debut for Gable Steveson. What can we expect from this debut, sir?
So Gable Steveson, we know he's been flirting with the UFC. He's got his first fight booked. UFC 329, July 11th, T-Mobile Arena. He's set to face Elisha Ellison. Elisha, I think, is 5-1 or 4-1. This is the same card that's going to have McGregor and Holloway 2 is the main event. There's some other pretty big names on the card. Paddy Pimblett is fighting. Let's see. I think Pimblett's taking on St. Denis. Sandhagen's on the card. Robert Whitaker, Cody Garbrandt, Tracy Cortez. So there's some good names. Great card to throw him on. It's interesting that he's gonna be having his RAF 10 debut not too far. I don't know if it's before that or after it. Let me check. I don't know when his debut is. It might be. It's pretty. Oh, it's RAF 9. Yeah, which is before. So I guess the UFC doesn't care. Maybe they're thinking he won't. Maybe it'd be a tune-up match for him. But yeah, that's going to be on May 30th. He's fighting Alexander Romanov. So in RAF, so he's going to be making his UFC debut. The odds makers got him at a -2,000, which means they really expect him to destroy his opponent. So I'm going to bet on his opponent just in case. You never know. Yeah, they need a heavyweight. the UFC needs some action because obviously Francis Ngannou is the premier heavyweight in the game right now, even though he's not even really fighting anybody. He's still better than everybody else. And John Jones, I don't think is coming back. And I think by the time he does come back, it's going to be the fight that we wish we saw 7 or 8 years ago. So we need a guy like Stevenson in there. The question is can he get his hands ready and adapt to it? We have seen guys struggle. It's a lot different when a dude's punching you in the face and he doesn't care if you hit him back. So interesting, man. He's had a big rise. Gable Stevenson's been on the up for a minute now. We'll just see if he can ride this train all the way to MMA because that's where the big money will be. I don't know.
Listen, this dude is overcoming a lot because, as you may recall, he one time had to pull out because of turf toe. So I don't know how he's going to find it in him to do 2 events back to back like he promised the last time. And the scheduling wasn't that far off at the same time either. Well, here's hoping he finds the way, because the real talk is he's fast enough, he's talented enough, he does have power. Things can change very quickly. Like, people who know his athleticism know he can be a force to be reckoned with. The real key for a lot of us is, does that translate to I want to see him fight? And so far, the answer is, I think so. Yeah, I kind of want to see how far he can go, sort of a deal. But in terms of intriguing and personality, that really hasn't gotten me sucked in yet. His athleticism is that good that it makes us intrigued, but I just was not drawn in yet. So we'll see. And I feel like that's a prominent spot. So they really have big plans for him if he is on that McGregor card. So, by the way, announcing that Conor McGregor and Max Holloway are going to fight during the MVP MMA 1 seemed like a petty thing, according to Ronda. Seemed well-timed, if anything else. I think the one thing they didn't really think through on that is it kind of just legitimized MMA for MVP number 1.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, they're like, we'll show them, we'll use that opportunity when they get 17 million people, which we've never had, to go and say, come watch our fight, which will get significantly less people. So,
almost.
Yeah, A plus, guys. You really showed them with their 17 million people.
Yeah, and by acknowledging them, you're basically putting them on your level as a real peer. Like, we have to respond to these guys because they're a threat to us.
Well, I think it just backfires in your face where you're like, we'll show them. Oh shit. Wait.
Yeah.
Whoa. But here's the good news. Free marketing for them. So it was done with purpose, but it just goes to show how fucking cheap they are. They're like, we'll show them, I'll tweet this out, and everybody's going to talk about it over there. It's like, yes, that did work. They did tweet and talk about it. But you know what else they were saying? Hey, you notice John Jones is getting paid? Eek. So, lots of stuff to talk about there. Tim, let's move on. This is an update for us to give you guys in terms of response. Okay, this is a tough topic, so apologies if it is not expressed perfectly. This week, there was an update to the Milky Galvo situation. This time, somebody prominently close to the family put a very long video. She's an incredible athlete in her own right, but it was gut-wrenching to see somebody who was a family member now, who is essentially married into the family, giving her side of the story. And I think for a lot of us, as we continue to watch the story unfold, we're learning more as we go each time. But Tim, what did we learn from this latest update?
Well, a couple things. Emmett Allure has been pretty not super vocal about this. Obviously, she's a gold medalist, Olympic athlete, super talented wrestler, shares a child with Melky's son, Mika. And she came out and basically she, in a nutshell, she said that she has been, not a lot, but she's been around Melky a handful of times, and in those experiences, she did not enjoy the environment. It felt, in her words, manipulative, scary, and confusing. There was a culture of fear, control, and silence that affected everyone around him. People seem conditioned not to question him, not to push back, and not to speak openly. She goes on to talk about she feels like he tricked her. Um, she actually competed in Brazil under his school name, won some money, and after the event, he told her, "Hey, you were going to donate that to the school," and basically, in her words, kind of strong armed her into donating the money to him, which was never agreed to. So she also goes on to mention that he heavily pressured her to move to Brazil to have the child, even going as far as saying, "You're ruining my son's life by not doing this." So, um, look, doesn't look good for him, but this kind of behavior adds up. It just adds up. You're like, oh, he's okay. And now this, okay. And now this. And then at a certain point, he has to have his day in court, but it maybe won't come is a shock. It's terrible. It's terrible, but I'm glad it's being brought to light, because there are other people in situations probably like this right now that are trying to figure out, what in the hell do I do? Am I thinking this through clearly? Am I not? Et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, Meat has a big future ahead of her, and so does Mika. And this dude shouldn't be able to destroy that. So I do not blame her at all for coming out and speaking her truth about it.
I want to add this, is that I watched the whole video Amy put out. And I would caution people to let her and Mika both explain themselves rather than jump to conclusions, because I think there's a lot we don't know. Like, I can't tell you the relationship status. I don't know that that's necessarily our business yet, but
Sure.
It is difficult to have full answers here, because we keep learning new things every week. And her coming forward and telling us these stories seems to be her way of saying, yeah, that's pretty true. He was like this. So it's not looking like there's ambiguity, at least from these accounts, for Milky's responsibilities and what he did. The real key is, did Mika have involvement? Because that has been alleged, and we don't know that yet. But it does not look very promising in terms of how much family members may or may not have known. That's going to come out over time. We'll let that kind of find its day in court, or find people to testify more about it. What we can say, though, is every time you hear this, it is continuously heartbreaking. You're trying to figure out what exactly a person can get away with for as long before people actually start standing up to it. So everybody who's come forward now has shown some incredible bravery and grace in trying to tell their stories so that other people feel encouraged to do it. And I don't even know if the people that we perceive as incredibly strong individuals in terms of athletics even felt strong as they were doing it, but it is definitely showing a sense of bravery as you look at them and you go, oh, that's a dangerous thing to admit. So props to them, and we will keep you updated with more information as it comes out. But thank you very much for that update, Tim. We are now going to move on to our low light highlight of the week. So what can you tell us about the fight that you or I selected? I'm not quite sure, but that you have at least curated for us.
You sent me a link to this, and I watched it, and I think I texted you back like, this is gold. It's a great fight. This falls into the fast food genre, and it looks like we got like a Patrick Swayze lookalike going up against a Post Malone lookalike before Post Malone lost all the weight. Kind of got that vibe going. It's in a fast food restaurant. A very suspicious, high risk maneuvers, which I still don't understand. is sought out after immediately as soon as this fight begins. And it just kind of sets the stage for the whole fight. And I got to say, pay attention to the crowd. They do a fantastic job of forming a fight pit for these guys and holding everybody back. It's just a couple of dudes scrapping at a wiener schnitzel, man. It's great, great stuff, dude.
Let's transition to the fight, Tim. All right, here we go. Walk us through it.
Let's go. Okay, so young Patrick Swayze, first of all, he goes straight up on the banister and gets pulled off and lands in a jump kick, hits the guy with a trash can. Now Posty's boxing. They're throwing, looking back and forth, gets the chair, hits dude on the head with the chair, gets him. Now he's like, you stay down there. I saw this in a detective movie. Now, Duck Dynasty comes in and he runs back out. And these guys are just throwing bombs, but missing. And I like how the guy has the matching shorts and shirt. Oh, that's nice. Just two Rams button shoulders. I was expecting some window play. Didn't happen. Now, when the headlock happened, somebody tries to get in, and you could see old boys like, nah. Edgar number 2 is like, nah, Holmes. He's doing cage work right now. And then dude loops around the other side, pulls him back. Look at David Spade tries to come in at the end to shut the fight down. What a fight, though. I don't know what the climb up on the banister is. I don't know what that was.
Listen, some things are indescribable, Tim. You just look at that and you go, you have to get a first person testimony. That's the only way you'll ever know. Allow me to start off with my first observation. First, notice that there's no plug into the DVD. It is waiting for someone to plug in some information into that TV. So starting off with like a TV that's on the fritz tells you the situation you're in before you even know what you're into. But yes, all bite, no bark. That's a bold statement, and we've seen some in our time here. Now, I refer to this young man as the dude that told the cop in Terminator 2 he didn't know where John Connor was. So that little kid who told him like, nah, man, I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him. Like that kid grew up and now he's about to get into a fight. Now you said Post Malone. I say Shane Gillis because look at this dude.
Okay.
Shane Gillis pulls him down. Now this dude's got some incredible flexibility because if somebody yoinks me down like this, I've already lost the fight. Yoinks them down, but falls as he's doing it, which is art. It is it is cinema. It is why we go to the theaters. After this, they fall down together. And there's nothing funnier and more cartoon-like than picking up objects and throwing them at people. Shane Gillis starts coming in, lands a couple of his own, but then there's a jump cut, which tells you there was some boring stuff that they're like, nah, that's not the good stuff. Let's keep it all knockouts all the time. So kudos to the editing team. He's loading up here, and this is my favorite moment. You ever load up a punch and then somehow it gets blocked? This dude's whole back blocks him. He just goes like, nah, take that.
It's like he has an invisible shield.
He parries it with his lower back. That's how weird it is. But guess what? He doesn't just parry it. He returns fire as he parries the punch. He literally whomp. Oh, yeah? Here's a fucking chair. At this point, it turns into a Looney Tunes fight. Now, Tim, I'm going to tell you my favorite part here. The kid from Terminator 2 trips. And what does Shane Gillis do? He goes to choke him with the chair. There's never been choking with the chair in my time of watching fights, but this is spectacular. He's like, you will die with this chair. And then at this point, somebody goes, yo, that's not cool. And doesn't break them up, but resets them. So they go back to throwing hands. Nobody's recycled at this point. And listen, dude, I know that we're so far up in this and that we're not supposed to make fun of the children, but look at this kid's haircut. Can we take a moment to appreciate what in the Arsenio Hall is happening to his hair? Like, high tops went out of style, but they came back again. So God bless.
He looks like the singer Sam Smith.
Oh my God, he does.
Actually. This is a fight he got into somewhere.
The writings on the wall. This dude's about to tell you James Bond is in danger right now. Okay. They push him back in. He was not ready to go back in. In fact, now he's pissed.
No, lumberjack match.
Okay, this is the best moment of the whole thing. Let's be real. When you mentioned they shoulder bumped together, it was a surprise to both of them because they both went for rock, paper, scissors, rock at the exact same time. Because watch, 1, 2, 3, shoot. Shit. You did the same thing I did. They just go back to throwing. He pushes him up against that edge. He goes for a headlock. Everybody here is abused. Tim, quick question. How many cell phones do you count here?
Yeah, they're all on phones. They got a crowd.
Can I just say...
This is why MVP MMA is so popular right here. This is it.
It's very true. You know what's great is, the end of Seinfeld when they basically go to jail because of the Good Samaritan law where they don't do anything? I think that's going to happen again here. Like, we have essentially normalized that. All right, they get pushed into the wall. Everybody reinforces the wall, but nobody wants to help any further. And then they break them up. They say, yo, you guys have had enough. But that dude, this little push away, like, I'll let you know when I'm done.
Yeah, don't touch my shirt.
That's it. Then they just go out for lunch, I guess. That's the end of that fight. Well, Tim, thank you for bringing that together. Let's go ahead and sign off here, sir. What do you have to say to the people before we head out?
Hey, great stuff, Raf. Great to see you again. Great fight. Thanks for the link. That was awesome. Hey, if you're out in Nashville, check me out at 10th Planet Nashville. If you're in Stockton, see my boys at 10th Planet Stockton. You can check me out on Inside BJJ on your favorite social media platforms. I've been banging on Kick a lot lately, kick.com. You can check us out there as well. Raf, great stuff, my man. Good luck to you and your students tomorrow. I hope you guys at least bring home the gold medal. Let's do that.
You and me both, bro. These kids don't bring me back a medal, a gold medal or 4, even though there's 3. I want them to steal a gold medal.
Something, man. Yeah.
Dude, I'm fighting these kids. So anyway, all right, Tim, appreciate you. Brother. Here's what's going on, guys. Here are your updates. First and foremost, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe wherever you're watching. I hope you enjoyed today's installment of the Bullpen. If you like me, check me out at the Grappling Hour. I got plenty of interviews going on. And tomorrow, your boy is going to be coaching. Then on Saturday, I will be over at Sparstar MMA, back on commentary with my good friend John Evans. And then immediately after that, I will be interviewing people inside of the cage. And don't be surprised if you see some people pulled from these fights back onto the show. We have a lot of friends fighting this weekend, some of them fighting each other, so very nervous about that. But nonetheless, you're guaranteed a good time if you come on over to the compound out in Commerce, California, or you order it on the pay-per-view. Check us out, the YouTube stream for Sparstar MMA. You can see it there. It's just $9.99 to check it out. We keep it very affordable there. I also make no money off of that, so I don't care if you do or don't. That's on you. But then next week, we're doing Subversive, and the week after, your boy will be back on with RFL, and I'm going to go see those folks right now and shoot the shit with them and get things ready for the next 2 weeks. So it's a busy few weeks here at the show, just as a heads up. And it looks like we might even be doing a fight companion again with some of our friends over at Mama, a.k.a. the gym I coach at. So stay tuned for that. Ladies and gents, I think that is going to do it for us here at the show. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. We should be back here next week. It's Subversive, so it's going to be a little tricky. We'll figure out the exact timing and whatnot. So keep an eye on for the next installment of the Bullpen. But until then, ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.